Hello listeners. This video is to clarify price elasticity of demand. To introduce the concept, let us start with law of demand. Law of demand states that other things remaining constant, that is under ceteris paribus condition, the relationship between quantity demanded for a commodity and its price is inverse. That is, if the price of a product rises, its quantity demanded falls, and if the price falls, quantity demanded rises. In figure, the demand curve is downward. If we move from point A to B, price falls from P1 to P2 and quantity demanded rises from Q1 to Q2. Similarly, if we move from B to A, price rises from P2 to P1 and quantity demanded falls from Q2 to Q1. Clearly, the relationship between price and quantity demanded is inverse or negative, which replicates the demand law. However, this law of demand is a qualitative statement of the relationship between price and quantity demanded for a product. Price elasticity of demand will quantify the relationship. That is, given the price elasticity of demand, we shall be able to answer what will be the change in quantity demanded for a product if its price changes by a certain %. Let us now see how we can define and measure price elasticity of demand. The degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded for a product to a change in the price of that product is called price elasticity of demand. It is defined as the ratio of the percentage change in quantity demanded for the product to the percentage change in price of that product that brings about the change in quantity demanded for that product. By symbol, price elasticity of demand can be measured by using this formula. To read out, price elasticity of demand for a good X equals change in quantity demanded for X divided by change in price of X multiplied by initial price of X divided by initial quantity demanded for X. Here, change in quantity demanded for X equals Qx1 minus Qx0 and change in price of X equals Px1 minus Px0, where Qx0 is the quantity demanded for X at price Px0 and Qx1 is the quantity demanded for X at price Px1. As we discussed earlier, while we introduced the law of demand, the demand curve is generally downward sloping, showing that the relationship between price and quantity demanded is inverse. It means when we move along the demand curve, a rise in price causes a fall in quantity demanded for a commodity, and a fall in price causes a rise in quantity demanded for that commodity. Due to the negative slope of the demand curve, that is the inverse relationship between quantity demanded for a product and its price, there appears a negative sign in measuring price elasticity of demand, for saying -1.5. Avoiding the negative sign considering the absolute value of price elasticity of demand, we can have a clear picture regarding the responsiveness of quantity demanded for a commodity to its price. For our example, the absolute value of price elasticity of demand is 1.5. Based on this absolute value, 5 possible cases can be considered. The first case is elastic demand. When demand is elastic, the absolute value of price elasticity of demand is greater than 1. In this case, a change in price causes a proportionately larger change in quantity demanded for the commodity. That is, the percentage change in quantity demanded for the commodity is greater than the percentage change in price of that commodity. For example, if price falls by 10% for the commodity, its quantity demanded rises by more than 10% when demand is elastic. For elastic demand, demand curve is relatively flat as shown in figure. The second case is inelastic demand. Demand is inelastic when the price elasticity of demand is less than 1. In this case, the change in price causes a proportionately smaller change in the quantity demanded for the commodity. That is, the percentage change in quantity demanded for the commodity is smaller than the percentage change in price of that commodity. For example, if price falls by 10% for the commodity, its quantity demanded rises by less than 10% when demand is inelastic. For inelastic demand, demand curve is relatively steep as shown in figure. The third case is unitary elastic demand. When demand is unitary elastic, the absolute value of price elasticity of demand is equal to 1. In case of unitary elastic demand, there is the same proportionate change in price and quantity demanded for a commodity. That is, the percentage change in quantity demanded for a commodity is equal to the percentage change in price of that commodity. For example, if price falls by 10% for the commodity, its quantity demanded rises by exactly 10% when demand is unitary elastic. For unitary elastic demand, demand curve is rectangular hyperbolic as shown in figure. Fourthly, perfectly elastic demand. For perfectly elastic demand, absolute value of price elasticity of demand is infinity. In this case, there is an infinitesimal change in quantity demanded for a product due to a little or ignorable change in its price. For perfectly elastic demand, demand curve is horizontal. Finally, perfectly inelastic demand. For perfectly inelastic demand, absolute value of price elasticity of demand is 0. In this case, quantity demanded for a product remains the same regardless the change in price, and the demand curve is vertical. Thank you for watching this video.